If you have a complicated relationship with making and keeping goals, you are so not alone. I will gladly and proudly raise my hand to join you because it is complicated. It is so complicated. And I have been through it. I don't think it's makes someone morally better to make goals. I don't think it makes someone morally worse to make goals. It just happens to be something that I have gradually built back up into. And it's a practice for me that I am really owning for 2025 in a couple of good ways. Now, I alluded to this all with the casual conversation that you heard the shortened preview of last week of an episode from More Personal, my private premium, always ad-free podcast for Bestie and Ride or Die levels of the Supporters Club. And so because of that, I thought I didn't really share about my goals there. I would like to do that now for you. And so what I'm going to do is air the full episode of a bonus episode I aired back in November, late November, when I was sitting in Lafayette, California at my in-laws and able to work on my goals for the new year and finalize them. It felt so good. And so I hopped up and shared a full episode sharing my top 10 goals, personal goals for 2025 with the supporters. Now, I said you get the full episode this time. I accidentally aired the full episode of the book report a couple weeks back. So you got that last week. You got a shortened one. This one is also the full. And tomorrow you're going to get the shortened episode of whatever more personal people are getting. And if you would like to be in on this, in on the kind of more casual, loosey-goosey, but also deep and real version of me. I don't try to be anyone different, but, I try to be more polished and professional and about progress. But if you like this, if you like this style, then join us in the Supporters Club at the Bestie or Ride or Die level and use the code FREEMONTH to get your first month completely free if you sign up by February 1st. Just go to aboutprogress.com/support and use that code FREEMONTH. And if you don't have the bandwidth to do so right now, it's okay. I hope you still get a lot out of listening to this episode and that it can encourage you in whatever way you need right now, whether that's to make a word of the year or to make one goal for the year or many goals for the year or none of the above. I am here for you. Okay, let's now turn to the whole bonus episode where I share my personal goals for 2025. Hello, and welcome to this special bonus episode for More Personal, where we lean into the personal side of personal development. This is the 5th Friday of the month, which I think are pretty rare around here. But because of that, I wanted to share a special episode for you, the members of the Supporters Club. And to do that, I first thought about sharing some of the highlights of my year, maybe 5 memories that I'll always take with me, and maybe 5 things I'm looking forward to. But then I remembered my podcast manager, Taylor, and I are going to be doing an episode similar to that for our last casual conversations of the year. So I scratched that. The next thing I thought of is sharing my top books that I read this year. And I decided, you know what? That should be the book report episode for December, the last one of the year as well. So I'm going to do that then. So instead, I was looking around my computer and realized I have my goal planner here. And it's my first goal planner that I have done for myself in a very long time. Now, I do have another goal planner. You can hear me kind of rummaging it. I do have a goal planner that I've used for many years. It's called Power Sheets from Cultivate What Matters. But the past 2 years, I've been doing it only as my work goals. And mostly because I found that my personal goals and my work goals were just getting so enmeshed that it became more overwhelming for me to keep up with, or I kind of leaned more into the work goals than I wanted to. So I decided to separate them. And I'm still doing power sheets for my work goals. But this year I picked up a new planner that I'm really excited about. It's the Hustle Sanely Planner. And it's a weekly planner. It's called the Peacefully Productive Planner. She has 2 layouts. One is a day layout, so that like every single day you're filling out a lot. And then there's a weekly layout week layout, where it's more about the week. Like you do your whole brainstorm for the week and then you just write a little each day. And I prefer that. I prefer that layout. But as part of it, there's a whole section where you make your goals. And I will say I had to beef up that a little bit because I'm used to doing a lot more reflection with the power sheets for my work goals. And I wanted that more for my personal goals because it's been many years that I have made personal goals for myself, definitely since 2022. Because I had my baby in 2023 and 2024 felt like a continuation of just trying to get back on the bandwagon with a lot of my habits. So I just kept to my work goals that year. So it feels good to be focusing on myself and to do so in a new way. So I'm using this planner, and I said I'm used to more reflection thanks to the power sheets. So I did a little bit more than it's guided in here. Like I did a whole brainstorm session, which really helped me first and then whittled it down. And you know how they always say to make goals specific? I actually had the reverse experience this time. I found that I wanted to make more generalized goals, almost as like buckets of things I wanted to improve on. And then the more specific goals to go with them are going to be broken out into my quarterly. And I may or may not do that now. I am at least going to, underneath each of these more broad categories, list out smaller and specific goals that I can work on one per quarter to make it easier to do, actually, not to make it more overwhelming, but to make it more doable. But yeah, so I kind of went against advice here and I made more broad goals, I would say. So I brainstormed a lot of things about what I wanted. And with that, I was able to come up with more general categories that I feel really good about. So let me see how many I have here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 goals written down because that's how many spaces the school planner had. And that's kind of how I roll. I'm more of a completist in ways that are both for good and for bad. Like I have a really hard time not finishing a book, even if I'm hating it. But if there's like going to be spaces for something, I feel like I need to use all of it. I can work on that. I know I can. But of these goals, I would say 3 are more work. So I'll probably remove them from my personal goals and put them instead on my work goals. But one of them is so big that I made it one of the last goals that I wrote down because it's big and it's scary, but it's both work and personal related. So I'll probably leave that one on. So stick with me to the end because that's what I'll be sharing as my final one with you. And it's when I'm both very eager to work towards and also very scared, very, very scared. But it feels good. It feels strangely like, okay, this is good. This is the better time. So I'll tell you more. But what I'm going to do is just go through what my goals are. And as I share them, I'm going to also share more of the reflection that went behind that, whether it's just the why I want this or what other smaller goals I'm thinking of that inspired the broader category, anything like that, to just give you like the real process of goal making. More personal is, the personal side of personal development. And this is pretty personal development, which is nice because we do so much adjacent. So just with me and you, I get to be super casual and share all the ins and outs and not be very polished or uh, say things even close to perfect. So this is really me, which is great, which is personal. So the first goal I have is early to bed, early to rise. Now, this is a goal I've been refining already in 2024. Even though I didn't say at the beginning of the year, I didn't write down any of my goals. I definitely carry them around with me. Like this is a year I wanted to make sure I got back into my better sleep habits. I wanted to make sure I was getting stronger and with my body and stuff like that, but I didn't write them down. But now they're formalized. The reason I still put this down and as my top goal to formalize it is because there are some practical shifts happening this year, including I'm sure my toddler will likely stop napping at some point. And I'm hoping to have him in a 3 morning a week preschool. That's like 3 hours, which will be perfect amount for him. But that will be like my only work time because I'm pretty sure by the fall he will have stopped napping, if not before then, because my last child, my fourth child, stopped napping right after 2, even though right after he turned 2, even though all of our other kids napped until they were 4. and and our toddler right now has like the exact same energy level as his brother right older than him, my fourth child. So I am predicting, and hopefully not making it destiny, but I'm predicting he's going to stop napping. So because of that, I need to wake up earlier and I'm going to need to work earlier in the morning before I exercise, or maybe I exercise first and then work a little before my kids get up. It's just, I have to do it. And I would rather start sooner because he may stop napping like really soon, or maybe in a couple of months, or maybe like in the middle of my coaching semesters. I call my winter semester, I kind of divided my coaching by semesters, the fall semester, the winter semester. I don't coach during the summer. Um, so because of that, I'm like, I really need to do that. I need to prepare now. So even though I'm usually in bed around 10, but at latest 10:30 and usually up between 5:30 and 6. And I have to tell you, I'm not naturally a morning person at all. And I also don't think it's morally superior to be a morning person. This is just by necessity. I have had to learn how to do this over time, and I want to do it more. And my days always, always, always go better when I wake up early. And the earlier I wake up, the better my days go, honestly. But only the big caveat here is only if I get a decent amount of sleep. So that's why the early to bed has to be prioritized even more than getting up early because they just naturally work together. So my goal is to eventually work towards me being in bed by 9. And that doesn't mean I'll fall asleep by 9. I'll probably fall asleep more like 9:30. But then up by 5, and it may even need to be a little bit earlier, and you'll know why later on as I share my biggest goal of the year. So that's what I'm working towards. And again, right now I'm usually in bed around 9:30, and falling asleep by 10:30. So we'll see how that gradually goes, but I know what goes to my wind down routine at night needs to just be the biggest commitment. And also, I know what my obstacles are, which include getting stuck on my phone. So I'm going to put some boundaries there, um, and also some nice incentives to make the nighttime routine feel really, really good. So I look forward to it, and I do it right away as soon as I put my toddler down. My goal is to get ready for bed and get in bed. Other times, what I've been doing more so at night is working, or I'm like procrastinating work because I really don't want to work because I feel really tired, obviously. So then I procrastinate in other ways, whether it's working or working in my house or doing things around the house or being on my phone and like watching YouTube videos or whatever. I actually love YouTube. No, I'm going to say more on that with my episode with Taylor, but I just want to make sure I have those boundaries in place so I can get to bed. Okay, so early to bed, early to rise, and the specifics are in bed by 9 and up by 5, and the other specifics are making sure I'm getting ready right after I put my toddler down and actually getting in bed instead of doing stuff around the house. And I'm learned like I think I may need to say I can't work at night anymore, so that's part of why I need to wake up earlier. Okay, the next big goal is probably the most important one besides like that practical bedtime stuff. This is a general category, but there's a lot of reasonings behind it. So let me share it first. I want to have more downtime for rest, fun, and hobbies. And then I put in parentheses plus my do something list with a big exclamation point. The reason why this matters so much to me is I'm just feeling pretty spread thin. I've realized one of the biggest things I've been struggling with this year is, on top of a lot of stress and overwhelm, is just burnout. And I really don't want to feel that way, mostly because I love what I get to do, both work-wise and at home. I wouldn't change any of those things. I would actually love to be able to continue to do both of them. But I need more of, is it white space? Is that what people are calling it these days? I just need more wiggle room. I need to have more rest. I need to have more fun. I need to have more hobbies. Like I really, really, really want to get into quilting. That is something that I've been watching tutorials on, and I would really love to get into that. Gardening for me felt like it felt stressful this year because I was always trying to squeeze it in tiny, tiny moments I had. It was always like, this has to be done now. So it always felt urgent. But when I'm like spending time outside and it's more of a regular thing, those tasks feel less urgent. I actually enjoy the process more. I love being outside. I think hiking should be part of that more for me, but also just reading more. And that's going to come with a later goal. And a lot of the things I put on my big brainstorm have to do with my do something list. Like I really want to go to more movies this year. That's a big thing. I'm like, this is the year of movies. I'm going to go to the movie theater often. Also, I'll share more. Actually, I'm looking at this and realizing, oh, that's part of that. I want to play more games as a family, like board games. I want to have more fun with my kids. Actually, that's another goal too later. So, I just need more downtime. That really is it. Okay, the next major goal, and kind of more of a goal category, is to establish a clear financial plan and financial goals. And as part of that, Brad and I need to finally get our estate plan going. We met with a financial planner twice last year, Fearless Finance, which they were a podcast sponsor. So we got the first one free, but we paid for a second one and we're going to pay for a third soon. And those meetings were incredibly helpful, but also so information heavy that I have been very overwhelmed by it because it is not something that comes naturally to me, numbers of any means. Also, like, I'm very emotionally loaded by money stuff. It's just really complicated and guilt driven for me. So I've been working on that relationship for many years, and it's just it's something I really want to prioritize between Brad and I. So we are going to start setting aside as part of our smaller goals to make this possible. We're just going to start by reviewing the information we already did with the financial advisor and making sure those things are squared away, and then meeting with her again and then taking those step by step. So that can help break down into the quarterly plans for us, just starting with that habit of meeting together each Sunday for 10 to 15 minutes to review what we already have, the information and the to-dos we need to do together. To do together. And this is mostly, I mean, last night I had it was Thanksgiving meal actually, and my daughter was talking about what she wants to do in college. And then I like blinked and I was like, oh my gosh, that's in 4 years. And I was like, do we have enough saved for her to go to college? Oh my goodness, and like freak out. We have 529s for all our kids, but like we don't put a decent amount in there each month. So that's just something I just want to get a clear. This needs to happen. It will be better for my mind. It will be better for our family. Okay, the next one is kind of fun. I want to prioritize relationships, and this is another thing I've realized I have been missing in my life this year because I had no downtime. I had no wiggle room. I had no white space. My relationships with friends and some of my siblings, I just think are things I want to reprioritize. And for me, especially, I put down couple friends, meaning some people in our neighborhood that the husband wife duo, and Brad and I would love to get together more. And so I want to prioritize going on dates with them as a couple. I also want to prioritize my real friends, starting with going on hikes and hosting girl nights. Now, I had this on my do something list last year, both to go on a certain amount of dates and couple dates and to host some girlfriend nights and to do hike and climb. But only one of those things, like I went on 2 double dates, I think this year, Brad and I, and I didn't go out. I only went on 1 hike with a friend. That's something, right? It is something, but I want to do that more. And my little sisters in particular, I just feel a real push to make sure I'm prioritizing my relationships with them. They both have really little kids, and I've got a toddler still. So one of my sisters is about to have twins, and she already has 2 very young children. So I want to make sure I'm supporting her and leaning into those relationships because this is such a precious time for our kids, and could be a unique opportunity because I didn't have this. I didn't have this with all my other siblings when they had kids around the same age as me, because I lived far away. I lived several states away from my family. So we just were used to living a very independent life. And while I still love to be independent, I'm just realizing I have a second chance now with having a toddler, and then my 2 younger sisters having toddlers as well and young children. And I can do that with them, and they can have that time to bond, and we can lean on each other better than we have before, and mostly because of my own lack of reaching out and making the time and also being accustomed to doing those things. So I want to prioritize those relationships. The next goal I have is to have more and regular fun as a family. And this was inspired by my brainstorm of the things I wrote down. Like, I want to play more board games with my kids. I want to have more adventures. And we've prioritized that a lot the last few years, and it's been so lovely. But all of the good memories I think of from the past few years involve fun as a family, even if it's just playing Monopoly with one of my kids, or going on a walk as a family, or even bigger adventures like a local hike, or even our trip to California that we did in August, which was a highlight for many years for us. I want to make sure we're continuing to have more and regular fun. And I put regular fun because while we got good at having adventures and getting out more over the past few years, I want to make sure we're having more like day-to-day fun instead of it just being go, 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 do, like, we have to rush here, we have to do this, you need to do that. I want to make sure we're having regular, easy fun. The next goal has to do with books. I want to read 24 physical books. That means like books in my hand. That's 2 a month. And then 80 plus books total. And that includes all my audiobooks. I'm an avid audiobook listener. And while I love that, I really have had this desire to read more physical books, and that was also on my DSL, and I don't really exactly know where I was at, but I think I've read at least 10. But I want to up that. So this is like a kind of building off that. Like I got some progress there, but I still need to get into the better habit of reading physical books. And it's not because one is better than the other. It's just I have a lot of books that I haven't read that are new and waiting on my shelves. And as part of that, I think what I'm going to do to make that fun is to create a to be read shelf. I already have a to be read cart that was inspired by my online friend Jess Massey. She's been on the show before from Hustle Sanely. Also, her Hustle Sanely planner is what I'm using this year, the Peacefully Productive Planner. Anyway, she had a to be clear the to be read cart challenge this year that she did on YouTube. She started it in the summer, and I really loved watching those videos and seeing her progress with her books that were on her to be read cart. And it was just like this little cart that, like an art cart that she had with all her books that she had for her to be read. And I put a cart like that in my room because we had one downstairs and it's filled with books. But I also have bookshelves in my office filled with books I've never read. I used to be a member of the Book of the Month Club, and I wouldn't get them every month, but I would get them like every few months so I could stack the credits of the savings and all that. And but I haven't gotten to read most of them, like 90% of them. So I think I'm going to make it a little fun. I'm not going to do like a clear the cart challenge, but I am going to do read from the shelf challenge or something else like that. I got to word it differently. And I'm going to make that part of my monthly book report on More Personal, just to share with you where I'm at on doing that challenge. So clear the shelf challenge. I don't know. That's too similar to how she worded hers, but it is inspired by her. And since it's not a public thing, I think I'm more free to do it here for our private podcast, but I'm going to play with that. And I think it should be really fun. And as part of that, I think I'm just going to get clear about what those 24 books are. So that way I have them in mind and I'm excited to move towards them. The next category goal is to complete one home project per month. And that one is more specific, which is nice. But what I need to do is make a list of what those projects are. And some will be more simple, like cleaning out the linen closet, which I've had on my to-dos for many months, or like another closet downstairs. But some of them will be bigger projects, like finishing my my boys' room that have a bunk bed in it. We call it the bunk bed room. I've already painted it, which felt so good to do. We've got the new rug down, but they need a new dresser, and I just need to like organize that a bit more and make it be more practical for them, especially all their Legos. And same goes for my second oldest, another son, who I kept saying, like, do you want me to paint your room? I'd love to do that. And he's like, no, I like it white. I like it the way it is. And then once I painted the bunk bed room, he's like, okay, yeah, I do. And we need to make his room function better for him too. All of our kids' rooms are very small. And I'm so glad they have rooms. It's so helpful because, they were all sharing and only 2 of them need to share now. They were all sharing when we lived in California. So it's so nice that they have their own spaces for the kids who really need it, especially my oldest. But they're very small. So we have to get very creative about how we store things and what we have. And with a lot of their Lego collections, that can be just like a process. So that's going to be one of his, as well as tiling the backsplash in my laundry room. Also been on my to-do list since we moved in 3+ years ago. So complete one home project per month. And that was also inspired by, that was on my do something list in 2024, which I guess, that kind of replaced my personal goals for the year. And that felt good. But on my list, I had to do some interior design challenges. And I didn't really get to them until just like 2 weeks ago. And I replaced the stair runner and I painted my boys' room and I've been looking for a dresser. And even though those have been very time intensive, they've also made me feel like myself in ways I really needed, which is why it inspired my biggest personal goal that's not practical this year about having more downtime for rest and fun and hobbies, because doing those things for me, that was like my hobby. That was the thing that made me feel like I was having fun and feeling like myself. So completing one home project a month would feel honestly fun for me. Unless it's like one of those times where I'm like, all I have time to do is the linen closet, or like work on our, fill up all our water jugs that we've had that are empty on the top, lining the top shelves in our garage. Okay, so that's the next one. So next after that is to get stronger. And underneath this, I kind of put what I mean by that. Like I want to build up to the heavier weights that my husband bought me for Mother's Day. I've been doing that, but it's tough. Like even 5 more pounds on a dumbbell, you feel it big time. And one of them is like 10 pounds more than I'm used to on my normal workouts. So I'm I'd like that to feel easier. And as part of that, I have been wanting to do this for years. And Amber Breezeki, who's been on the show before, and actually this past year she did the show, she was on About Progress to talk about weightlifting for women and why we need to be strength training as we age, especially. Um, she she has a pull-up challenge or almost like a little mini course that's free online that teaches you how to get a pull-up. And I've been wanting to do that for years. So I figure in 2025, I'm turning 39. And maybe I could start that mid-year after I start getting stronger in other ways first, or maybe I can work on breaking it down and other exercises. Like she has all these exercises that you do to build up towards a pull-up. So I can start doing those gradually. Because I'd like to be able to have a pull-up by the time I turn 40. That's a goal. So get stronger is the bigger category, and then I have ways to break that down underneath that. The next category is to return to a regular spiritual study that strengthens and uplifts me in new ways. I feel like I could do a whole hour on that one. Suffice to say, the ways that I traditionally did spiritual study in the past are really difficult for me to prioritize these days, mostly mentally. It feels like a minefield of being triggered, to be honest, like to just sit down and like open my scriptures and read. Um, and while always am glad I did it, it's harder for me in ways than it's been in the past. I would say both time wise, but also more mentally. So I need to explore that. I don't really know what that looks like yet, but I did put that down because I do want to feel this is like the spiritual side of me is something that I've just been hanging on by my fingernails for so many years. That I'm like, I want to kind of build a new spiritual identity, not one that don't get scared, anyone who's like listening to this and being like, does that mean this thing? It doesn't mean anything. It just means I need a way to uh, build up my own spiritual identity and just fortify that. And my spiritual relationship has struggled for a very long time. So even, despite a lot of work and angst and um, so I want it to be a place that feels more like safe and at home for me inside myself. So whether that means I'm reading more spiritual books by um, people of other faith, like, gosh, what's the guy like Roth, or I don't know. I was in a book club for a while that I could never attend. And they had so many great book suggestions. So I think I'll just go through there. And I bought a couple of them and I wasn't able to read them. So I want to read more of those kind of books, I think, is what will help me feel like I'm fortifying that part of my life without it feeling like I'm constantly jumping through all these minefields internally as I'm trying to study. And one other thing that has helped me that way is to listen to certain podcasts that I do like Faith Adjacent or um, Don't Miss This, like the ones that just feel like I feel like more at home here. So I got to find a new way. I got to find a new way to help me feel strengthened and fortified spiritually. Um, and I think that's a good thing to think about that. The next one, actually, the next three all kind of could be more like work goals. So I need to refine these. So think one of these needs to be more than one of them need to be refined, but two of them for sure are like work goals that I'm going to put on the work list. But I'll share them with you now. I'm going to replace them, and I'm probably going to do either leave these blank, so I just have like 9 or 10 goals. You know what? I've already decided as I'm talking to you. I think I'm going to only leave one of them for sure on the list. And that's going to be the last one I share with you. But 2 others I'm going to move and put on my work goals for the year. One is to streamline and increase profit in business. I think I'll spare you the saga on that, but beyond just saying, like, I've been thinking deeply about where my income actually comes from the podcast. Obviously, the Supporters Club is making it so About Progress can continue, which is such a huge blessing, but it's also it's not even covering our costs. Actually, it's not there. It's not there yet. It will be once we get to, for sure, 250 people. But it's not paying me. So if the ad industry continues to not do well, which I'm afraid it won't, I could lose my ads this year, which means I would be in big trouble. Like I wouldn't be making any money besides the extra work I do with coaching. And while I want to do coaching, that takes more time and also a big emotional investment that I have to ensure that I'm able to do so, which is why I always have limited my number of clients because I want to make sure I'm doing a very, very good job for them. And if I take on more than I'm able to, both time wise and emotionally wise, then that's not good for anybody. So, um, with that, I'm just trying to think of, I may return to some other income forms like the membership group. I kind of have more of a plan. I think I know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to bring back my membership group next year. Um, and it'll be a combination of a community and coaching, which is different than it was before, but also the same. Like we'll take the good stuff and add in some more coaching elements there. So, but that's scary. That's scary to do. It's a big risk. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. And it only works if a lot of people are enrolled. So I'm, I'm going to have to figure that out. But there's also other big thing I'm going to be doing. I'll share that with my last goal. So that's a way for me to streamline it, but I also need to increase that profit too. So fingers crossed. If one thing I'm toying is if my ad agency folds or something like that happens where I couldn't say this in my public feed, my public podcast, because I actually love my ad agency. I don't want them to fold. But if that happened, then I think I would have to still do ads on my show. In the past, we found those ads ourselves. We found the businesses, we signed them up, we had them do contracts, and that well ran dry. But maybe I'd either have to do that again or I would just do affiliate ads. So you would hear me do ads for Just Ingredients or Keon, the aminos that I've loved so much. Maybe other things like that I'm an affiliate partner with, but that make like very little. And one of the reasons why the industry is struggling is because like the conversion, they don't see the conversion, but that's because ads on a podcast are like a billboard while you're driving on a freeway. Like people aren't going to pull over and suddenly buy that thing. They're going to see it and remember it and it will influence them for later when they are able to do something. But that doesn't mean they will go back and find the exact link and click on it. So people don't see the conversion, but the awareness, the raising awareness is what it's doing. So what's tricky about that is if I do just ads for affiliate, that means I only make the very, very, very tiny small percentage of what people spend. And what people spend is only very few people who actually will go and click on a link later. So I could do that. But one thing I thought is if I do that, then I can also maybe add another level of the supporters club. That means you get an ad-free feed where all the ads are taken off. So that's what I'm thinking is part of the streamlining and increasing the profit and helping that. So we'll see. And the other one that I think is definitely going to be more of a work goal is to be able to pay for a house cleaner, but maybe I can change it on my list here to be like to get more help. I just think I stopped my childcare back in July and we've been able to make it work, but just because of that, I have had so little bandwidth or wiggle room. So I think we'll need to bring that back, especially as I'm sure my toddler's going to stop napping soon. So a babysitter we had before she left on a mission, like when my baby was 3 months old, she's coming back. So I'm going to see if maybe she'd be up to doing 6 to 9 hours a week. And that could be good to get more help, but also maybe with house cleaning, because that's one of the things like I always fall behind on and that weigh on me. Like I notice when my sinks are not clean or my mirrors are dirty. I feel the pressure when my floor is sticky and I can't get to it. Like it weighs on me. So we'll just see. That's just a bigger goal. Like if I get to that by the end of the year, that maybe I can have a house cleaner come once a month. Awesome. But to me, I'm like, I would rather have someone come once a week to just do my chores. And then, of course, even if they came once a week or once a month, my kids would all have their same chores and they do quite a bit. So it's just more for my chores. Okay. So be able to pay for a house cleaner and or hire more help, I think is going to be actually on my work goals. So here's the actual goal that is both book. I said it. I already said it. And I said, I'm not going to edit this. I promised myself I wouldn't edit this to leave it in. The goal that is both personal and work related is that I'm going to write a book. And this also goes with streamlining my where I'm getting income with my business. I have loved teaching the Sticky Habit Intensive, and I'm still going to teach that in the winter. But I've realized the reason I switched it from a self-paced course to a live course is one, because courses aren't selling well at all anymore. And I understand why, because people aren't able to complete them. And like the market is very saturated. So doing a live version of the course feels more efficacious for me. It feels more like I can actually promise on my deliverables, like, because I'm actually in the virtual room with people. I'm helping them all along the 21 days that we're together. I'm ensuring that they are making changes and growing, and it's so rewarding. But because that requires so much more of my time, it had to come, the investment had to match that value. But I fear that that investment of money is just still too much for people to make that stretch or that leap with something that's personal development related. Like people will do that for weight loss or for parenting or financial kind of courses. Um, Something that's going to make them money, they will for sure spend money on. That's why business companies and podcasts and memberships do so well, because, people are like, this is an investment in my business, but people investing in themselves, and believe me, I've done this a long time, it's a lot harder for them to do, especially my audience, it tends to seem. So, um, anyway, this is all to say the Sticky Habit Intensive, I would love to continue doing it, but it hasn't done as well as I had hoped and as I think it should. It's really good, and I stand behind it. But I'm going to host it again in the new year and see how many people enroll. And if it's still looking good, that means I can keep it around. But otherwise, I think it's time to take what I've learned from teaching the Sticky Habit method in a couple variety of ways, a self-paced course and the live course with the intensive. I'm going to take what I've learned. I'm going to take, from all the coaching experience and the research I've done, but also those hands-on live community courses when I've been teaching women with it personally. I'm going to take what I've learned and turn it into a book. And as I've been walking around my in-laws' neighborhood, because we're still here for Thanksgiving, and thinking about writing a book and potentially launching a membership, like those things are sitting really good in me right now. And I actually had the goal to write a book in 2023, which I laugh out loud now, because that was the year I had my baby in January, and I was barely keeping afloat. I was barely keeping it together the entire year. And in fact, like in hindsight now, I'm like, I wish I had just stepped away for a whole year. And I talked to Brad about that. And he was like, no, actually, I think you would have not done well mentally to step away from your work altogether. I'm like, well, that could be true. That could be true. So who knows? But anyway, it's just, that was a terrible year to make that goal. And it was also going to be a different book. And now I'm like, I know it needs to be just like that self-help book. I'll probably have to self-publish and learn all of that. But that's part of why I need to wake up early. That's part of why I need to go to bed early. That's also what's going to help streamline my profit. I don't think I'm going to make a lot of money from the book, but it feels like an easier product to sell, even though I gosh, the part of me that I'm like, the in-person, like if we did the intensive, like I'll be able to ensure that you're actually changing and learning and having the support. But that seems to be an investment that people can't easily do. So I need to have another version of it, or maybe it be the version of it being a book. And if that translates later into coaching within the membership group that I do, that could be good and work really hand in hand with each other, which is nice. So that's what I'm thinking. And I already have the name of the book. I already have the subtitle. I have a rough outline in my head. I've written some of these down on the notes on my phone. So feeling good about it, but it's time to actually do it. It's time to face my fears of writing a terrible book. It's time to face my fears of nobody buying my book. It's time to face the fears of the work of doing so, because it will take so much work. Like, I don't think I've obviously interviewed a ton of writers and New York Times bestsellers. The biggest one is coming up in the new year. I won't say who, but the last name rhymes with, I don't even know how to do a rhymes with. It's Sharon McMahon, okay? Sharon says so. I'm so excited, you guys. Anyway, I've interviewed a lot of authors. I know it is so much more work than people think. But also, if I want it to do well, I think I'm going to have to do my own, even if I'm going to self-publish on Amazon, which I will, because I have no idea how to get a book agent. I have no idea how to pitch publishing companies. And I just feel like I don't want to do that. I'm just going to do what Hal Elrod did. I'm going to publish my own book. And if it does well, I can maybe bring it to other publishers and get it done that way. Who knows? But regardless, I think it's going to be a good way for us to get this material out there in ways that are very accessible for people. Even if I can't like personally hold their hands through learning the material and applying it like I love to do, it will be something that someone's like, yeah, I can pay $20 to $30 for a book and learn how to do this method. So yeah, that's it, my friends. That's the big, big, big personal / work goal. Okay, so I just shared with you 12 goals, but of those, if I did the math right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of those are going to remain on that list. And with this, I'm also going to do my DSL, and some of my DSL actually are going to help these bigger goals. Like you're going to learn in the workshop that I teach, the free workshop of the year in 2025. My only free workshop of 2025 is the Do Something Less workshop. So you're going to see that everywhere. We're going to link to it. It's going to be January 15th. It's going to be in newsletters. It's going to be on Instagram. So you'll be able to find a way to do that. By the way, you can just go to aboutprogress.com/ I think it's DSL 2025 is the URL. And if it's not, just let me know and I can send you the right link. Anyway, you'll learn in that workshop that the Do Something list is not a goals and resolutions list, but items on that list can help you have fun as you are reaching a bigger goal. So for me, like if I want to read 24 physical books, 80 books total, like that's the goal. But maybe on my Do Something list, I can do a clear the shelf challenge to help me get there. Or on my list, I have, what's another one? Just looking back. Oh, like to have more downtime for rest and fun and hobbies. On my Do Something list, as a way to support that, I can say like one of my hobbies will be like quilting. So maybe I can take a quilting class for my Do Something list. Or maybe I can go on 10 hikes, or maybe I can try out one new board game a month with my family. Like those are some potential ideas for my Do Something list that can help support that goal. I'm just looking at one more. Same thing with the prioritizing relationships with some certain people. I could do like go on 5 couple dates or 1 couple date a month as a couple, or host 3 gal nights. That was on my Do Something list and I didn't do it at all. I failed on that one and that's all right. So anyway, my Do Something list is going to help support my goals here, which feels really good. So yeah, when I first did my goals, by the way, I got very overwhelmed and stretched and just like all of these things require time and I don't have time. But that's why the most important goal on there, besides going to bed and waking up earlier, is to have more downtime because those two kind of work hand in hand to me. I need to figure it out and it's time. And it's time to do that by getting more help and waking up earlier too. And just figuring out how to make my business work better for me. And to be honest, I think I need to hire some more people on my team and I can't afford that yet. Not even close. So I'm hoping the supporters club can grow as well as these other ways of bringing in income so that I can do that, so that I do have more of that wiggle room. And that's going to be on my work goals list of figuring that out. Like how can I hire more people out and who do they need to be and what do they need to be doing? So just know that, and just know that I am so grateful for you. So grateful for the supporters club. It's like the little club that could. I honestly didn't feel like it was working until this fall. And I realized, oh my goodness, even the number that we've had sign up, they really are saving About Progress. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being part of the work we're doing here, the broader work. And I really appreciate you. And I hope that this was a helpful, if not weird, look at my personal goals for 2025 and how I went making them. And if this inspires you to make your own, that'd be so fabulous. If you haven't for many years, I would actually suggest doing the do something list only. If you're really goal averse, or if you want to make even one goal, I would do that. What's the Lessons from a Quitter on Instagram? She's someone I've been wanting to have on the show for a while. She did a post recently where she talked about how each year she only makes one goal. And I loved that post. You should go and read it because there's a trickle-down effect from these goals. Like one year she had a goal to read 24 books, and that was like 4 years ago, and now she's reading 80 books a year. So like it builds. Another year, I think, I can't remember what the other ones were, but it was really inspiring to read. Just making one goal for the year was so helpful for her. So if you're in that place, consider that. What if you just made one goal I think that'd be fabulous. Okay, I would love to hear about your own personal goals for 2025. You can share about them in the Supporters Hub. We have a circle on there for more personal where you can go and comment and have a discussion about that. So thank you so much again for being here, and we'll see you soon.